So many of you have probably heard by now that my husband ran in the Chicago Marathon last Sunday, and Pastor Jim graciously did, from what I understand, just a beautiful sermon, and we heard from Jerry Law a testimony of God in his life and around him. And I'm just so grateful for both of you and for all of you. Just constantly always being in worship and in preparation for doing God's work. So I caught this runner, and it's not Howie, but it's one of the first 10, I think, that actually won the race. So it was cool to get them. And then these drummers were drumming at different parts of the course, and it was just amazing, echoing off between the buildings downtown Chicago. And anyway, I just thought that was a beautiful image of kind of running the race, the race of faith. So he did really well, my husband did, for his first time ever. He ran with the World Vision team, and as they were raising money to bring clean water to those around the world without it. So it was a really great thing to run for and to raise money for. And during this time, for a long time actually, he followed this strict training regimen. Running, he ran certain numbers of miles each day, and he had to eat certain kinds of foods, and he was very, very good at following most of it. And then he would do the most difficult runs as a group each Saturday morning with some of the other ones that were running with World Vision. So they would run as a group in order to encourage each other and to build a camaraderie to run this really big race. But the week before the marathon, they were instructed to decrease the number of miles run in each day. And then 2 days before, they were only to run 2 miles. And that might still sound like a feat in and of itself, just to run 2 miles. But for him, having run so many, it was just not feeling quite right. And then the day immediately before the race, they weren't supposed to run at all. It felt counterintuitive to him. He said he almost felt mushy and was tempted to throw in a few more miles just to be sure. But he didn't. He had faith that the thousands upon thousands of those who went before him on this training journey to run a marathon knew what they were talking about. Howie adopted a disciple's faith, the belief and hope that those who've run a marathon before, who were discipling him, guiding him, running alongside him, knew what they were talking about and to trust the process. So he started off really strong, a trajectory that had the potential for qualifying him for the Boston Marathon, which is what he was hoping to be able to do, until around the 15-mile marker, which is about halfway. He hit the proverbial wall. His muscles seized and groaned, his feet burned, his body screamed, "Please stop!" But he pushed through. He ran the entire course. And really, it was still quite a good run. But he did not run like he had hoped. And for a short minute, he thought that he had failed. We all fail. And we fail often. But the majority of times, it's not actually a failure, because we set up a standards oftentimes that nobody else has set for us, or someone else's standard for us that isn't quite right. But on whose authority have they set that standard? Sometimes faith is believing that you are enough, that I am enough, that God's love, the only true standard, and that if I fall short in loving others or even myself, God's love has covered even that. Because, grace, that's what God's all about. And there is no shame in grace. So why is it that we feel it unacceptable to fail? I know that's one of my hardest things. Have we made appearances, how we appear to look to others, have we made that an idol? Does how we think others see us compel us to take on a pretty got-it-all-together facade and then wonder why we can't change anything? Because it's just a facade, paralyzed by the fear that we might fail. Jeremiah tells the Israelites that because they didn't trust the process, they let go of God's hand as they were guided out of Egypt. They let go and turned to other idols to appear like the other nations. They broke the covenant made between themselves and God, but God still went with them, continued alongside them, sending prophets and leaders as mouthpieces, reminding them of God's steady, sure presence, that there is always hope. Bless you. If only they would have faith. So last week, from what I understand, the text seemed to say, make the best of what you've got, what you have by dint of what you already